Rand Paul.
Joining us now from
on Chris Wallace yesterday, talking about the impeachment that will start tomorrow.
Questions about the Senate trial that I know you're concerned about in a moment. But first, you just heard Liz Cheney. Does President Trump bear any responsibility for the attack on the Capitol on January 6th?
You know, I opposed the notion of, which I think was a misguided notion, of voting to overturn the election either with Congress or with the vice president. But I think
now he admits it's misguided.
And somehow impeach everybody who says, oh, go fight to hear your voices heard. I mean, really, we ought to impeach Chuck Schumer then. He went to the Supreme Court, stood in front of the Supreme Court and said specifically, hey, Gorsuch, hey, Kavanaugh, you've unleashed a whirlwind.
It got crazy, didn't it?
You're going to pay the price. You won't know what hits you if you continue with these awful decisions. This inflammatory wording, this violent rhetoric of Chuck Schumer was so bad that the Chief Justice...
I tried to calm it down by showing everybody Rand Paul.
...immediately said this kind of language is dangerous as a mob tried to invade the Supreme Court. So
Rand Paul is my softener.
President Trump accountable for language. There has to be a consistent standard, and to my mind, it's a partisan farce because they're not doing anything to Chuck Schumer, not doing anything to Representative Omar, not doing anything to Maxine Waters. It's just
for what?
It's just partisan politics under a different name.
Did they send people into the Capitol to try to overturn a Democratic election?
That the Democratic House managers will.
And beyond that, we know that through Trump exercising his federal power, he blocked Maryland from being able to send in the National Guard. I honestly think he tried to tamper with the Capitol Police in some way. So Trump was every bit responsible for what happened to the Capitol. Rand Paul is a piece of shit.
Make before the Senate this next week. They will note that Mr. Trump tweeted his followers a number of tweets, but one of them to come to a big protest on January 6th. Be there, will be wild.
And he told them he loved them afterwards.
Of what happened that day, what he said, how they reacted. We made our own compilation of those, including some clips that are circulating on the internet. Take a look, Senator.
We fight. We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Take the Capitol! Take the Capitol!
Wallace smacking Paul down.
You talk about other people who have said things, but you know, there had been weeks of misrepresentations about the election.
People associated with his campaign funding the rally.
Then he talks about fighting like hell. People in the crowd are talking about going to the Capitol, and then they demand to find Speaker Pelosi and to hang Mike Pence, the Vice President of the United States. Is that not incitement for insurrection?
I don't condone any of the language, and like I say, I oppose.
The fuck you don't.
Voted against overturning the election. However, I think you're going to see the Trump defense play video of Maxine Waters telling.
If you do not vote to convict, you condone it.
In restaurants and attack them. They'll probably show clips of Cory Booker saying, "Get up in their face" of these Congress people. You'll probably.
It's not equivalent, Rand Paul.
Wishing and celebrating the violence that happened to me when I had 6 ribs broken and part of my lung removed. I think you're
now do stick around. We do have a Republican senator actually speaking some truth coming up in just a little bit. Plus, I have a story about a teacher that has been fired because she was playing with her axe wound. So you're going to want to hear that. But now,
the fortification.
This is not the Republican senator that's going to make sense. This is, hey Mergen, what's going on? I want to follow up with you on the we did the Fifth Amendment thing the other day. Anytime you're compelled to testify, you use the Fifth Amendment. So like I'm glad you made me look that up. Because I love learning shit. So, because like you gave me pause on that, because like, oh, it's not a criminal proceeding, so how does that work? But like if Congress compels you to testify, you have the right not to incriminate yourself. So, like, if you're called before a committee and you're under oath, you would evoke the Fifth. So, thank you. I always love people. Always call me out. Let's get to the bottom. We will look shit up here on this show if we have to, and we will learn shit together. And I'm glad we come to the conclusion on that one. I'm glad to have you here, Merkin. But this is Senator Ron Johnson on Fox News. Yes, I've got the story of the rep dying of COVID here in just a little bit, which is my transition to the COVID stories we're gonna do. We're talking about impeachment right now. This is Senator Ron Johnson with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday.
Around where you are, the Senate, last night CNN obtained a letter that the former chief of U.S. Capitol Police sent to Speaker Pelosi. I assume Pelosi leaked it. And this letter was about the events leading up to and including January 6th.
She assumes Pelosi leaked it.
The police head is blaming 4 federal agencies and slow bureaucracy for hindering the department's ability to secure the building that day. Your reaction to this letter, and tell me about the letter that you have
4 federal agencies. What I just said, Trump, through his ability in the federal government.
To the 2 former Sergeant at Arms.
We saw him after the election just clean house to try to get as many people loyal to him as he could in the DOJ, in the DOD. This is exactly the scenario that he was trying to set up. We really did have the dumbest motherfucker try to seize power in this country. We're lucky he was that incompetent. Oh my God, it could have happened. That's what I've even had right-wingers be like, that couldn't have been an insurgency because they're stupid. I'm like, yeah, they're fucking stupid. We're lucky they're stupid. It's the dumbest fucks walking the planet. Right-wingers are morons. And that's the only reason we don't live in a fascist country right now. We just live in a semi-fascist country.
Arms of the House and Senate, now the acting Sergeant at Arms of the House and Senate. I've gotten absolutely no response. I actually appreciate what the former Chief of Police of Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, sent in the letter. And he lays out, the diligence that he undertook to provide security around the Capitol. And
so he lays out the diligence that he undertook when he is the one that would be directly responsible for the fact that they couldn't secure the fucking Capitol. Wouldn't the buck stop with him? So we've got a disgruntled employee who very well could have just been the fall guy for this. I acknowledge that they had to put some heads on a platter in order to look like they're doing something. But he is indeed the chief of the Capitol Police, or was. He was indeed the chief of the Capitol Police. It was his responsibility. He clearly failed. Would you not agree? So for him to come in and say, well, I did this, I did that. Maybe.
Seems like he took pretty reasonable precautions. He's obviously being one of the state scapegoats here, but Senator Graham and I have called for a completely independent investigation to find out exactly what happened. And it's amazing. It's a month.
Trump's tentacles were in fact Twizzlers.
And yet we have these 8-foot tall fences with concertina wire completely surrounding the Capitol. We've been told they're going to be put in place since, till March at least. Listen, the Capitol is the people's house. It shouldn't be barricaded unless there is some real threats that I'm not aware of, that they're not telling us about. I think we ought to take that fencing down. And
yeah, I don't understand why there is still fencing.
I think the fencing is
troops there
is remaining in place to send a signal, a narrative that 74 million Americans.
Unless they're wanting to keep it in place through the impeachment. They're afraid Trump supporters might actually storm the Capitol during the impeachment proceedings. Which I could understand.
That voted for President Trump are dangerous to our democracy. They're all insurrectionists. And that's
exactly, not far-fetched.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, you've been asking these questions about who knew what when about the January 6th siege. You haven't gotten any information. Have you gotten information about the intelligence that they have now that would warrant this kind of protection around the Capitol building?
No, our staff was briefed by some FBI briefers last week, and they got no information whatsoever. And again, this is a month later, and so
it doesn't look comforting.
This is how rumors spread. This is how conspiracy theories get spun up by government not being straightforward and not getting information that it's aware of, that has access to, and make that public right away. I'm for transparency, and right now there's very little transparency other than Stephen Sun's letter to Speaker Pelosi, which I truly appreciate. I wish the former Sergeant at Arms, I wish the current Sergeant at Arms would also lay out, what they did, what they're aware of.
Media Winch sure did talk to an insurrectionist on Saturday. That was wild. You know, I got to thinking about it. Like, Dave was right when you laughed at him. Like, that was emasculating to him. And from that moment on, it was just over. He did, like, nothing you said. Because when he realized that you were a lefty, like, he acted like I would have acted if a right-winger called in, right? He acted like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then clearly he wanted none of it, though. What? What does that mean? You're my most uneducated friend. I do not get what you're saying there. You are most certainly not that. The Night of the Purge. They're so dramatic. And I swear to God, they will go on local news sites and they will comment about how everybody else is fear-mongering. But then that's all they do is fear-monger. They're like, socialism, socialism, the violent leftists. Oh. I'm sorry, you were quoting him. Sir, are you all right? Shot tap from YT? Shot from my wife? Are you? Would you like to call in and talk to us, sir? Would you like me to Fraser Crane you, give you some diagnosis? I'll do my best. 917-830-4359, or you can hop in the Discord. Link down below. You're drunk or something, aren't you? Did you call him Whitey? What? Getting all racist in here. Somebody get a mod on her. What are you questioning? Look. If you want to, there is a clip of my stand-up comedy where I'm talking all about my frizzy hair looking ass. You can go watch me talk about how my friends used to call me the ass fro. Now, not every Republican is going the way of the Trumper, like Rand Paul and Senators Ron Johnson. But the ones that are against the Trump side of the Republican Party are few and far between, and Liz Cheney has seen a backlash to standing up to the Trump side of the party. But she promises we're going to get many more investigations.
I just want to ask you one more question about January 6th. When you voted to impeach the president, you said this. He, quote, summoned this mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. Everything that followed was his doing. There has never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution. Congressman.
Now, she said that on January 12th, right after the attack. Republicans have done an about-face. It looked like they were going to hold Trump to account in the 2 weeks after the attack. Now they've completely reverted back to just being the stupid fucking cult that they are.
Woman, one of the things you certainly are is a straight talker. Would you vote to convict President Trump of incitement of insurrection?
If I were in the Senate, I would obviously listen to the evidence. I think that that's the role the Senate has as jurors. I would also point out, though, Chris, that the Senate trial is a snapshot. There is a massive criminal investigation underway. There will be a massive criminal investigation of everything that happened on January 6th and in the days before. People will want to know exactly what the president was doing. They will want to know, for example, whether the
He was in the White House cheering it on.
Vice President Pence a coward while the attack was underway, whether that tweet, for example, was a
behind the scenes. He said that Mike Pence could be a patriot or he could be a pussy. He used language that is a little bit stronger than coward.
A premeditated effort to provoke violence. There are a lot of questions that have to be answered, and there will be many, many criminal investigations looking at every aspect of this, at everyone who was involved, as there should be. But I stand firmly by my statement. We've never seen that kind of an assault by a president of the United States on another branch of government, and that can never happen again.
So just to press that, if you were in the Senate, would you vote to convict?
If I were in the Senate, I would listen to the testimony. I would listen to the evidence. If you're a senator, you have a responsibility to be a juror, and I think that's very important. But I obviously
think she would.
believe and did then that what we already know is enough for his impeachment. What we already know does constitute the gravest violation.
She's one of the 11 that voted for it in the House, so why the fuck wouldn't she vote for it in the Senate?
Past or pretend didn't happen or try to move on. We've got to make sure this never happens again.